Among those in the audience for tonight's State of the Union address, an Appleton man attending as Senator Tammy Baldwin's guest. Jason Zimmerman has a preview of what is expected tonight for him. He is live in the Fox Valley newsroom. Jason.
Cami, this is a big honor for David Hovde. He will be sitting in the gallery of the U.S. Capitol watching the president speak tonight. He was selected after coming to Senator Tammy Baldwin with concerns about the high cost of insulin. Hovde sat next to Baldwin during a Zoom interview this afternoon after arriving in Washington, D.C. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, which Baldwin supported and the president signed into law last year, the price of insulin was capped at $35 per month for seniors on Medicare Part D. It also allows Medicare to negotiate for lower drug prices. Hovde says being able to highlight his concern and attend the State of the Union address in person was completely unexpected.
Several people have said, well, what could we watch where we might see you? And I thought, well, probably nowhere, because I don't think the camera's going to come up, and that's just as well.
And Hovde tells us that friends and family members, they are very excited for him and will be tuning in tonight just in case his face does pop up on the big screen during the president's address. Reporting live in the Fox Valley newsroom, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.